Give me one reason to stay here, and I'll turn right back around. Give me one reason to stay here, and I'll turn right back around. Said I don't wanna leave you lonely. You gotta make me change my mind. Baby, I've got your number, and I know that you got mine. You know that I called you, I called too many times. You got to call me, baby. You can call me anytime. You got to call me. Give me one reason to stay here, and I'll turn right back around. Give me one reason to stay here. Oh, I'll turn right back around. Said I don't want to leave you lonely. You better make me change my mind.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the latest episode of I'm No Joe, your home for all things combat sports, and the place where every armchair quarterback can feel like Eddie Bravo. The views and opinions presented on the I'm No Joe channel belong solely to the person expressing them, no one else. If we say it, that means we meant it. That being said, this show does contain adult themes, adult content, and general shit that you shouldn't be letting your kids intake. Be advised, viewer discretion is recommended. Proceed at your own risk. You've been warned. How about it, ladies and gentlemen? Let's have a round of applause for that opening band. Eddie Firestarter and Adam Pillardick, the larcenists. You can't get much better than those kids. I'm just kidding. Welcome, everyone, to the latest episode of the I'm No Joe podcast, your home for all things punchy, kicky. Do want to give a quick shout out to our favorite musician, Eddie and the Arsons, and Mr. Adam Pilarchik doing our awesome musical intros and outros for us here. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of appropriate ages, to our latest episode here of the I'm No Joe podcast, a show where every armchair quarterback can feel like Eddie Bravo. Today, as like most days, we have got a panel full of fine folks here to break down all the upcoming weekend's punchy-kickiest events and break down the fights that you need to pay attention to, as well as go over some news and recent events that have come out in the last week. And before we get too deep into anything here, take just a moment to thank these fine gentlemen for taking part in the shenanigans and the shit show that we are about to embark upon. First and foremost, the owner of the coveted purple strap of new guyness, the freshest guest a man could possibly ask for, Mr. Fresh 03. How you doing this evening, sir?
I am so busy. I'm so busy.
I can't even imagine. I know a portion of what you got going on, and it's a lot.
Yeah, there's something else. There's something else that might be going on too. So, if it happens the way that they're saying, it might be a big one. Might be a big addition. So we'll see. We will see. Yeah, it's going on right now.
Well, we are glad to have you here as much as we do have you here, sir.
I'll be paying attention.
And then, as is the case more often than not across the octagon, from myself, my Wednesday night homeboy, my combat shit talking compatriot, the one and only Mr. Golf T Vapes. How you doing, sir?
Fucking excellent. Get to watch fights from home this weekend, and a whole lot of them, because there's a lot going on this weekend. Although, to be quite honest, I know I'm going to be quite exhausted this weekend because I've got some other shit I'm doing outside of the house, and then coming in and watching fights every night. I'm going to be fucking dead come Monday.
Yeah, I can see that. No, we have got one of the busiest weekends we have had for MMA in general of the 2021 year so far, coming up this weekend, and I think next weekend is even busier than this weekend is going to be, but we'll get to that when we get to that. For this weekend here, we have got a full-on litany of things going on. But before we get into this weekend's, I want to take just a second and run down last weekend's fucking craziness that was a card. 23, Vegas 23, I believe is what they were officially calling that one. I gotta say, I did not have a whole lot of eggs in the Impa Kasanganay basket. And boy, did he come out and prove a whole lot of people wrong last weekend. 26 seconds into the second round, and he wins by fucking submission. That boy is nasty. When he locked that in, he locked it in so fucking hard too. So props to Impa Kasanganay for keeping it alive. Then we had, unfortunately, a whole lot of decision fights. We did, however, in the middle of those flurry of decision fights, get to see Yorgan De Castro get hit with literally the exact same shot that he hit Justin Tafa with in the last fight and got put out with it. So there was a little bit of karmic irony there. That was one of those, oh shit, kind of moments in the middle of a good 15-20 minute stretch of snore fests. And then, holy shit, new Polish power on the block, boys and girls. Mateusz Gamrat. We had kind of talked about him a little bit before the last time he came out, but I don't think anybody really had any idea that he had that kind of fucking clean power packed in that fucking hand of his. Scotty Tuhati just ate it and fucking went, dude. Bravo, fucking vo, sir. That shit was fucking crazy. Bringing us into the quote unquote premier prelim fight for last weekend. Unfortunately, our boy Jim just could not get it done. Boy, when he got on fucking top of Joe Selecki, he ground that motherfucker out and worked him for the full round. But the problem is that Selecki figured out real quick that was not where he wanted to be, and immediately flipped the fucking script on poor Jim, and Jim just could not get out from underneath Selecki either. And with Selecki ended up having more time, just more done overall in the course of the fight. He got it when they went to the judges, unfortunately, which sucks, but it is what it is, as they say in a situation like that. Bringing us into the main card, though. Holy shit. D-Rod with the fucking clean boxing. To be fair, Mike Perry's boxing wasn't terrible, but he did do a lot more stopping punches with his face than he did his guard, and his nose showed for it at the end of the night. D-Rod pieced him the fuck up for 3 rounds solid. There was never really a moment where Perry was in control of that fucking fight. He landed a couple shots throughout the course of the match, but there was never a moment where he was really in control of that fight at all.
Perry's one of those guys that, if it ever comes to fruition, where they set up like a pension fund or something like that to cover your injuries after fighting, he would probably be a good candidate for a complete nose fucking, like, just replacement, like
at this
transplant.
point he's had what, 5 repair surgeries on his nose
in his last fucking 5 fights, basically.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
minus
pretty much.
last 6 because he did win
6,
one.
yeah. I was going to say he had a win in the middle, yeah.
But still, that dude, D-Rod was on fucking point, though. His jab was fucking phenomenal. And
he could not miss with that left, man. Oh, my goodness.
He was on point.
Yeah, Rodriguez is seriously becoming a very, very hard to avoid fighter in that division, and for very good fucking reason. If he keeps refining his skill set the way that he is and sticks with Joe fucking Schilling, who was calling from the corner absolutely fucking perfect, and even the fucking commentators made a point at several turns during the match where they would hear Joe Schilling go, "Don't get excited, keep poking at him, it'll open up." And sure enough, D-Rod in the ring you'd see him just kind of reset and get back to center and then pop that fucking jab back out there again. And then that opening would come and bam, he would fucking crack him.
Okay. There's one big thing that you're missing about talking about what Joe Schilling said between rounds. Do you want to cover that or not?
We didn't get there just yet. I was warming up the Joe Schilling credentials before we get to that.
Okay, I will let you get to it in your time. You finished warming it up.
I wanted to lay the foundation so that people understand that Joe is a very credible coach and that he is able to call very, very well from the sidelines what he needs or what he sees that would need to be done in the match. And when D-Rod responded, it worked out beautifully. And then in the corner, I believe it was between rounds 2 and 3.
Yeah.
We got one of perhaps the single greatest corner commentary sound bites in UFC history. Joe Schilling quite literally leaned over to D-Rod and goes, "You remember that kick you made up when we were on mushrooms at one time? Throw that shit." And D-Rod went, "Bet."
I think the greatest part about that was that the commentators caught that between rounds and then promptly asked him in the post-fight about it, to which he gladly replied. He's like, "Yes, that's exactly what happened. I was doing some weird capoeira karate shit, and
they were tripping on mushrooms, and he was fucking around with a weird capoeira up kick, and Joe was like, do that shit."
Oh, fucking greatest
oh my god,
corner commentary ever.
That's so fucking spectacular. Like, it's gonna have to be an epic fucking moment to top that one. No, Joe Schilling is a fucking gem. He's a fucking spectacular coach to begin with, but then you just sprinkle that on top. Like, Joe Schilling is a fucking national treasure, man. Keep Nicolas Cage away from him. But from there, that brings us into the other Mrs. Nunez versus Mackenzie Derp. Unfortunately, Nina has good grappling, but not the best jiu-jitsu. In the brief little actual grappling wrestling moment that they had, because there wasn't really a whole lot of striking, it went ground ways pretty fucking quick. In the brief little wrestling grappling exchange they did have, Nina was holding her own fairly well, but when she slipped up, and she did slip up, when she slipped up, Mackenzie capitalized immediately, and to her credit, rolled directly into a dominant position and worked patiently, just chipping away at Nina's arm, and eventually got it, and there wasn't shit that Nina could do about it.
Mm-hmm. And like she got her with under
credit
20
where credit
seconds
is
left.
due. Credit where credit is due. She got it with literally 12 seconds left in the fucking round, and she did secure the arm, and she got Nina to tap. Now, does that armbar warrant her getting a title shot? Abso-fucking-lutely not. I don't care how many different accents she says she thinks it does. No, no, and no. But she did get a very, very clean, very nice armbar on Nina. I'll give her that much.
It was a nice finish. I'll give her that, but actually, there wasn't a whole lot to even break down there because you couldn't even tell if it was a ring rust issue from being pregnant and childbirthing and all that. But either way, I mean, it was funny how everybody goes, how come she couldn't hold out for 20 seconds? Because they yelled 20 seconds as she was sitting here like this, trying to keep the grip from the arm bar. Look, trying to hold on to that without having access to a gi or something to hold on to keep your arm there. There's no fucking way in God's green earth. And Mackenzie, to her credit, did a beautiful job of slowly working the arm out and not overdoing anything to give up a dominant position. So hats off to her, but there's a reason why she does have a fucking black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and a very prolific father at that. So I'm just saying that was kind of to be expected if it went to the Jiu-Jitsu realm of things.
Well, and credit where credit is due as well to Nina, because Nina did exactly what you're supposed to do if your arm gets threatened with an armbar like that. She wrapped that elbow with her other arm and fucking braced down. So she said that if you were getting my arm, you're going to fucking earn it. And then Mackenzie correspondingly responded with almost the exact same offense by hooking through Nina's arm and grabbing her own arm and locking it so that she had the same type of reinforced grip yanking on Nina as Nina was trying to use to keep her arm down. And eventually there's only so much you can do from the bottom when that top more dominant position has got the leverage on you. It's physics. It's only a matter of time. So she got it. Moving on from that bullshit though. You want to feel bad for Smiling Sam. You really do. But we kind of call it. To be fair, I don't think any of us saw this as being a fucking blood choke to the fucking side with a fucking knee reinforcement as the way that this one was going to end. But Julian Marquez definitely landed some fucking Cuban missiles on Sam Alvey's face to put him in the position to catch that fucking choke for the weird, awkward side pulled fucking garrote submission that he got. I will say though, Derek Lewis better be fucking careful, or there's about to be a new hot post-fight mic check king. I will preface it by saying I was wholeheartedly expecting a Miley Cyrus call-out follow-up, seeing as how he came out again to Miley Cyrus as his walkout music, and that's been his whole shtick. And what we got instead was a pickleball call-out to the quarterback, running back, and wide receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs, because he's a Kansas City boy now, who all three immediately responded with, "It's fucking on," and have since set it up. They're putting this together. Like, this is gonna be a thing. They're gonna do the damn thing. So it's about to be crazy pickleball in Kansas City.
I wonder if they're gonna do it at Arrowhead.
That's kind of what I'm thinking, is they're gonna do it wherever they can get the most eyes. If not in Arrowhead, then in the parking lot, most likely.
I bet you they'll let them get in there.
I think this would be one of those things they would be willing to make an exception for.
Yeah, your franchise quarterback wants to play pickleball inside Arrowhead. You let him play pickleball inside Arrowhead.
Yeah, you let him fucking go. Especially considering it's going to have UFC and ESPN cameras filming it to put it on the whole fucking world watching. I think they might make an exception.
Yeah, the Cuban Missile Crisis is quickly becoming one of my favorite fighters, if not for the way he's stopping people, but also for those post-fight interviews. That, it looked like a modified, almost fucking bulldog choke. It was fucking fantastic. Because it was like half rear naked, half to the side, So it was like between a bulldog and a rear naked. It was fucking cool. It was a swift fucking choke to put Sam right out.
And then used his own knee to hold him there while he was putting the choke in. Like, that's pretty fucking clever, too.
Although, we didn't get the initial Miley call out right away. We did later in the week on his fucking Instagram page. So there was that at least. Because once the Miley call out happened, I immediately went on and started following his social medias just to see what kind of shit he puts out there. The dude is legitimately funny.
Yeah, he's good. He's real good. As I said, Derek Lewis better watch his ass because Julian Marquez is coming for that crown, man. He's about to be the new social media fucking UFC king.
Fucking fantastic.
Fuck yeah. Moving on from there, though, to our actual co-main event of the evening. God damn good fight, man. Sadiq Youssef is a fucking monster, man. That kid has got a goddamn chin on him. He is one tough son of a bitch. But credit to Arnold Allen. That motherfucker could not miss. Everything he threw at Sadiq, he fucking landed, and he was landing clean. He landed a couple shots where it looked like he had Sadiq in trouble, and if he would have followed up and maybe jumped on him and put the gas down a little bit, he might have been able to finish Sadiq in that fight. And that hurts because I'm a big-time Sadiq fan. I don't give a fuck. I'm a homer for Sadiq, and I'll openly admit it. But, man, Arnold Allen was just in ass-kicking mode Saturday night. And like I said, to his credit, Sadiq is a fucking monster. That dude took some big fucking shots and never let out. Never fucking got a chance to get out of it. Stayed in it the whole goddamn time, giving it the old what for. But, man, Arnold Allen earned that fucking W for sure. He put in fucking work. Then we get our main event. Big Mouth versus Meathead, basically. I will say this. Kevin Holland did not spend the entire fight talking like he did in the Derek Brunson fight. Unfortunately for him, that did not stop Marvin Vettori from spending the entire fight wrestling him right to the ground and trying to have his way with him. Marvin Vettori can't wrestle for shit. His wrestling is dog shit. And he did whatever the fuck he wanted to Kevin Holland whenever the fuck he wanted, and Kevin Holland couldn't stop him. This kind of confirmed for me, for me at least, if Kevin Holland wants to stay relevant, he has to go to welterweight. Again, he weighed in at 182.5 pounds, and he walked into the ring at 182.5 pounds. And again, that was not big enough for the guy that he was fighting, who is not the biggest dude in the division. I think realistically, the 11 pounds he would be cutting to make welterweight would put him exactly where he needs to be. And it, like he said himself, would hold him accountable and make him be as disciplined as he clearly needs to be, because fighting at 185, having the ability to take a 21-day turnaround fight isn't do fucking favors. And now we're at the point where the middle of the road gatekeepers at middleweight are starting to know that they can all wrestle fuck him because he can't get out from underneath him. It's not going to get easier from here. It's not like the guys above them aren't paying attention. Your game plan has been exposed. The blueprints to your fucking design are out there for the world, homie. You've got two choices. You can go down to welterweight where that game plan won't make a difference to anyone you're going to be going up against, or you can put on another 15 pounds of fucking mass and learn to fucking wrestle. One of those things you can do in the next 3 months. One of them you can't.
All that did was prove how terrible his fucking wrestling game is to me. Like, to be honest, if his wrestling game was halfway decent, he would have been able to stuff a takedown or two. But, I mean...
Not like he was mixing them up real real good. It's not like Vettori was hiding his takedown attempts.
No, they were blatant as fuck. You saw that shit coming from a mile away. And what I think was surprising the most is Kevin was pretty fucking quiet the entire fight. The entire goddamn fight, even in the corners. Which made me think maybe his game's a little off because he usually fucking talks a lot. It doesn't matter which fight it is. His last fight was way more than usual.
Right. But
he
yeah,
still talks a lot compared to other fighters. I mean, so I was a little thrown off, but you know, his wrestling game definitely suspect.
I think it was a combination of his lack of wrestling. Obviously, I mean, that's been obvious for a while. You can't magically knock someone out off your back every fucking fight, Kevin Holland. As beautiful as that was, I think it was a combination of his lack of wrestling skills and his lack of weight. Because if Kevin Holland could learn to sprawl at all, he'd probably be okay. But your sprawl is also dependent on your weight and the amount of weight you're able to put down on somebody. That's why there's weight classes. And Vettori, quite frankly, could just power through a sprawl by Kevin Holland, even if he knew how to sprawl on him. So, it kind of went the way that I thought it might. And like you guys said, at this point, anybody who fights Kevin Holland knows what they have to do. Just out wrestle him. And that's all it's going to take. So, and I mean, it really hasn't been that long since he took that ass whooping. So he might have been off. But yeah,
That's true.
I mean, Kevin Holland didn't look like himself, but I mean, he was kind of in a bad position with that fight. It wasn't a fight that he should have taken. Anyway.
No, I agree. I agree completely. I think that was a bad move on his part. Like we always say, if you're willing to step up on short notice, props to you. But if you're stepping up just to step up, doesn't always work out that well. Ask Angela Hill about that. She's 1-6 in her last 7, I believe. And she's the queen of the short notice fight. Stepping up last second doesn't always benefit you. It really doesn't, especially when you're stepping up short notice after coming off of an ass whooping that you clearly haven't fully recovered from into another ass whooping of the exact same variety.
I think the worst part of this for me is they bumped Vettori all the way up to fucking 3 on that win. And to be quite honest, I don't think it was a 3 worthy. I don't think it was a 3 worthy. And don't get me wrong, I'm okay with this call out of Izzy because he's the only one who really truly gave Izzy a run for his money. As much as I hate to say that, because God, is that painful. But if you go back and look at all of the fights Izzy's had since then, that's the only person who's given him any fucking trouble outside of course, Jan Blachowicz, but that's also a fucking weight class up. And while Blachowicz is Polish power for a reason. So I'm just saying that I'm not mad at his call out because he's been calling for him, which I get. You almost had him the first time. And at this point, you're working your way towards it. He's pretty close to that point of no denial. Unfortunately, I don't think they should have moved him up 3 fucking positions from 6 to 3. But, you know, it is what it is. We'll just have to sit back and watch and see what happens.
I agree. I don't know. It's gonna be weird. We'll see what shakes out this upcoming weekend because he's already talking about staying in Vegas so that he can be there to tell Dana once this weekend's fight is over that he demands to be the next number 1. And I don't know. We'll see how it actually plays out. Return to normal as far as bonuses go. Thank fucking goodness. But weirdly given out though. Performances of the night went to Mackenzie Dern for the armbar on Nina, and then Gamrat for that fucking power shot from hell on Scotty 2 Hottie. Fight of the night though went to Alvey versus Marquez, which is strange because they don't often give fight of the night to the fucking stoppage that isn't performance of the night as well, if they do traditionally like that. But, you know, hey, 200K splashed around for those folks. So
Not mad at the Cuban Missile Crisis for making that extra money.
Oh, fuck no, not in the least bit.
Keeping him ahead of the Cold War.
Right. No shit. The bad part about that was in getting back to normal bonuses, we also went back to fucking ridiculous medical suspensions as well, unfortunately. So we do have to take a minute to talk about that real quick. Much as we've been lucky to glance over them the last couple weeks, you can't get used to that shit in Vegas, like we said. So, excuse me. Ironically or non-ironically, as it seems to be, the knockout suspensions were questionably short, but it's the non-knockout suspensions that were really kind of weird. Vittori and Holland both got suspended till May 2nd. Kind of reasonable, just a couple more weeks. No big deal. Either one of them took a whole lot of damage in that fight, really, so that's understandable. Arnold Allen got his hand broken, or a bone in his hand broken, so he's got to get his hand cleared. Otherwise, he's out till October 8th. Doctor can clear him, and he can be back May 2nd, so understandable. Sadiq, May 2nd, understandable. Julian Marquez, they think he broke bone in his right hand. Same thing. Get it cleared by a doctor or out till the 8th. But Smiling Sam, who literally got choked into a pile of unconsciousness, is only suspended until May 11th. He's literally not even suspended a month after getting choked into complete literal unconsciousness. And then, ironically enough, Mackenzie Dern, who won her fight via armbar, they think broke her right thumb in doing so. And so she is out for 6 months or until cleared by a doctor for a broken thumb. Mike Perry, who very clearly got his nose Jeopardy question marked again, only suspended until May 26th. So literally a month and change. Longer suspension than Sam Alvey, who actually got put to sleep unconscious. So we're back to that fucking game again. Jim Miller, they think he broke a bone in his left foot. Same thing. Doctor October 8th. Excuse me. On the other hand, Scott Holtzman, who got knocked the fuck out by Gamrat in highlight reel fashion so devastatingly they gave him a fucking performance bonus for it, only suspended until May 26th. He's literally out for a month and a week. Jorgen Castro, who literally got baby elephant face planted on the fucking canvas, only suspended till May 26th, a month and a week. Sasha Palatnikov, who got choked the fuck out by Impa Kasanganay, May 2nd, 2-week suspension. We can't win with Vegas. Either we get normal bonuses and a semi-understandable night of decisions from the judges, or we get reasonable medical suspensions afterwards. Apparently, we just can't have both for whatever reason. So, moving from there into our news and recent events, since we have spoken to you last, you fine, wonderful folks watching and or listening to this. First and foremost, I got a sticky note. We had one that literally just came down the pipe within 20 minutes or so of the show starting, and I didn't have space in my fucking notes, so I put it on a goddamn sticky note because we had to talk about it. It is official. Contracts are signed. UFC 265 on August 7th will now contain the bantamweight defense of one Amanda Nunes against Juliana Pena. She is coming back down to 35, and she will be there in a couple months, and Pena has managed to talk her way into that fucking title shot. I don't agree with it. I definitely think there are plenty of other girls who deserve a shot before her, but fair is fair. She has talked her way into that shot. So, sweetheart, you better do your fucking homework. You better dot your I's and you better cross your T's, because this gonna be bad if you ain't ready. This one, like, after the shit she talked and Amanda flat out said no, I don't think she deserves it, and now they've got it set up anyways, you know Amanda's gonna want to smack her around extra fucking hard for this one. So Juliana, I really legitimately hope you're ready, because I think Amanda's gonna be madder in that octagon than we have likely seen her before, especially coming off a Nina loss as well. Like, there's extra fuck you power in her smacks that are gonna be coming at you. Oh man, I almost feel bad for Juliana, but I kind of don't. Like, credit where credit is due. You got yourself that title shot, but
I mean, when you call out thunder, you better be ready for lightning.
damn right.
That's anybody who fights Amanda Nunes right now. Like, have you watched her fights recently?
I think some people just have a death wish. Like, get your will in order before you go there, and
Right, yeah. Make sure your affairs are in order for sure.
get a hospital bed put into your house, because you're going to need it when you get back. I'm just saying, it's going to be a rough day. And then be prepared for a 30-day fucking medical suspension.
Right, maybe 30 days in a week.
Yeah.
Oh, fucking ridiculous. But next piece I want to talk about real quick. I'm a little bit mixed on this story, but it needs to be talked about here. We found out this week that Jimmy the Brick Flick has officially retired from MMA after one fight in the UFC, one spectacular fight that it was, but he has officially retired from MMA as a whole.
I feel bad about
Basically, yeah, he said that it dawned on him after he got that win that that's likely as good as it could potentially get, and that in the world of MMA as a prize fighter, there's no 401k, there's no retirement, and if something doesn't work out the way you hoped it did, you're flat on your face with a potentially crippled body. And he would much rather spend his time with his family and with his wife and working for a living that he knows he would have a retirement fund from than risking it in the UFC. And for that, you can't really hold it against him. Honestly, if he had some bullshit half-ass reason or he just didn't want to fucking do it anymore, I would be the first one in line to bust his fucking balls with a sledgehammer. But for a man to literally get just enough of a taste of what he signed up for to realize that it's not what he thought it was going to be and it's not what he wants, and to be able to walk away without having invested his body and his time and his family into it, you can't be mad at that. Like, it's understandable.
No, in fact, that's probably one of the most level-headed things anybody can possibly do. You come off of a fucking win in the pinnacle of the sport and say, you know what? I don't want to go after the belt. That's not worth it in the long run for me. That's one, it's level-headed, and two, it's that had to been a tough decision to make, to know that you're good enough to be there. Obviously.
Oh yeah, he got a bonus his first time out.
Yeah, you're good enough to be there. You earned a bonus. And you think, that's pretty good money right there. Now, don't get me wrong, that's not life-changing money. I mean, it is for a year.
Right.
But after that, how many more of those are you going to take? How many of the more getting paid $10K a fight is going to be worth it? You know? So, it makes sense. I mean, the dude's got a level head on his shoulders. I'm sure it was a tough decision, but my hat's off to him for not making the mistake a lot of fighters do where they just keep going and going and going, even though they shouldn't be there.
Absolutely. I think the only part about it that really sucks for me is that I was very, very excited to see him against the Elder Figueiredo brother. I think Figgy number 2 versus Jimmy the Brick was going to be a fucking spectacular match. And part of the problem for me with that is with him out, that means that now JP Bays gets a chance to step back in on short notice and get another turnaround fucking fight that he doesn't deserve. And we have to hear about that fucking idiot all over again. Hats off to Jimmy the Brick. I hope he has a fortuitous future and he and his family are fucking happy. I don't wish him any ill whatsoever. I think he made the exact right fucking decision. You got enough to see that it's not what you wanted and you got out before you were in too deep. Do you, man? I hope you fucking have nothing but the best, but that does kind of fuck up a fight I was really looking forward to seeing, and now we got to deal with this fucking soup can moron again. So, I mean, we'll get over it, but it sucks. So the May 8th card no longer has Jimmy the Brick versus Figgy Part 2. Now it's JP Cans versus Figgy Part 2, which I'm pretty sure Figueiredo was going to fucking walk through that dumbass. But in doing that, we also got a tie-in announcement. They added another fight to that May 8th card when they announced that Jimmy had retired and that now Soup Can McGee is in there to replace him. Now we also are going to get a good fight added to that card to kind of make up for what that one's going to inevitably end up being. Gregor Gillespie getting back into the octagon against Diego Ferreira. That is a fucking interesting stylistic matchup because those two dudes are about polar fucking opposites on the style radar. So I'm kind of excited to see how that one shakes loose. It's been a minute since Diego has been in the octagon, but we know what he is capable of. And against a guy like Gillespie, who is so fucking long and rangy and such a fucking strike-oriented style, it's going to be interesting to see how Ferreira takes that fucking puzzle apart. But I think he's gonna just, we'll talk more about that as it gets closer though. So two kind of aggravating pieces of news I want to get to here real quick, and then we'll get back into the fun news to round this back out. The first one, to be fair, anybody who read these knew that it was fucking stupid and it was a bad idea as soon as it fucking started because it avalanched quickly, as anyone who saw it knew it was going to. But Dustin Poirier this week made a point to talk shit about Conor McGregor and said that despite the promises, he never actually followed through on his $500K donation that the original fight was originally built around. So, to be fair, immediately, Adi Azatar, Conor's manager, jumped right in and said that that's bullshit. The money is there, but they require proof of investment before they actually transfer a check. They agreed that they want to know where this money is going. You say you have plans for the whole $500K. Cool. They want to know what your plans are, because if it's some bullshit, you're not getting it. And that was the original agreement all the way along. Adi Azatar jumped right in and reinforced that. Conor McGregor came right in and said, no, we never had a debt. We never owed you a goddamn thing. We said we would give you $500,000. You said you had plans with it. We said, cool, show us what the plans are. You never showed us any fucking plans. We're not just going to give you $500,000 to do with what you want. We want to know where this money's going so we make sure the investment is being invested. Sure enough, Conor gets pissed off and says, you know what? Fuck you then. If that's how you want to be, the fight's off. We'll hold a fucking raffle to see who I fight on July 10th instead of your fucking inbred hillbilly ass. As if like magic, I think it was 4.5 hours later, Dustin deletes all those fucking tweets and then issues another tweet in a full apology to Conor McGregor and Adia Zatar for bringing all of this bullshit public, realizing where he was in the wrong and in the fact that he had in fact fucked this up and then tried to put it off on Conor in the public forum, and that itself was a mistake as well, and then promised to keep it back in the private and shut his mouth and learn from this going forward. The question is that too little too late? Like, supposedly contracts had already been signed for the July 10th date by both parties before this happened. But Conor's trying to say that the contracts were allegedly signed before this, and that now with this, that kind of negates that. I don't know if that's going to work. I'm pretty sure we're still going to get this fight, but this, I have a funny feeling it's going to take away all of that buddy niceness that we got in the last fight, all that handshake and all that nice talk and all that fucking business reach around on the stage that they were doing. We're not going to see that this time, because I'm pretty sure the UFC is going to make an ironclad fucking contract when they offer it out in a situation like this. They're not going to be so timid as to leave an option for Conor to back out. So I'm pretty sure this fight is locked in, and we're going to see these two in a cage July 10th. And that's going to mean that there's no more nice Conor. The friendly handshake and smiley guy we saw in the press conference last time, that's done. That lunatic barely on a fucking leash by force of security that we saw in the first Conor versus Dustin, I have a feeling he's about to make a fucking return. I think when we get back to this one, we're getting back to old school, holding up a picture, ripping it in half, and screaming on stage for the fucking promos. I think Crazy Conor comes back for this one, and I think Dustin's going to be in trouble if that's the case.
You know, I have a feeling that's exactly the Conor we're going to see, because I'm guessing he's pretty pissed about right now, which I get it. You don't take that kind of business public. You know, that's something you go, hey, man, let me send you a direct message, contact your management, say, hey, what's going on with this, rather than fucking bring it public. But I guess the other side of this coin that I'm thinking what it may be is that they may have been working this as a way to sell pay-per-views, which, if that's the case, both of those two motherfuckers are brilliant.
Right.
And
if that's the case,
that's my tinfoil hat theory for the day on this one. Is I really do, in some weird fucking way, think that they were using it to sell pay-per-views, because you know how much Dustin gives back to his community. That raises both of their pay for this fight. So
right.
I'm just saying, I'm putting it out there. It sounds fucking weird, but I think even if he knew that the fucking 500K wasn't coming, or doesn't matter, because he can make that off in fucking pay-per-views on this if he brings shit public and trash talk.
Easily.
Yeah,
easily.
I'm just saying, it's out there. I mean, him and his paid in full. He's gonna get paid in full one way or another.
I agree. The other kind of aggravating news that we got this week is that Aljamain Sterling has refused to sign a contract for an immediate rematch for Peter Yan. Instead, he opted to have neck surgery. Now, he came out yesterday screaming and yelling that he's not getting a full multi-disc fusion, so he's not going to be out for a year and change, that he should be back to training in 3 months, and he should be ready to fight in 6. I don't know that there's been a fighter who's had any kind of a neck surgery and returned to fighting in 6 months.
No, and there were much tougher fighters than him.
Yeah, in any division, and yeah, exactly. We have seen much better fighters than him have neck surgeries and still have to take a year and change off.
Let's go back ways. Let's take this back a ways. Up in his prime, Tito Ortiz had to go through back surgery, spinal surgery.
Yep.
And he was out for over a year. And he's a way tougher motherfucker than fucking Aljamain Sterling is.
Well, even more recently, look at Weidman. Weidman had to have the fucking fusion done where they had to go in through the front. They told him he should be back to training in 6 to 9 months, and he was out for almost 2 years.
Yep. Same
And even then, he didn't come back 100% of what he left. He, you know, for a guy who had his fucking neck operated on, props for coming back at all. But he didn't come back the same level. And Aljo lucked into the belt he's holding right now. He sure the fuck did not win that belt. So even losing a step from there, I honestly can't see them letting him get this neck surgery and be out for that long and hold on to that belt to begin with. I think if he goes through with the surgery period, they're going to strip him. Either they're going to strip him or they're going to put a fucking interim belt up while he's out. And then he's not going to have a choice because it's going to be Jan versus a softball pitch to put Jan right back in there with the interim belt to get his original belt back. So I think Aljo's in trouble either way it goes, but I think it's a dick move to turn down this fucking immediate rematch to get neck surgery that you know goddamn good and well is just a stall tactic. So fuck Aljo even more than we already said fuck Aljo.
Yeah, all right.
That being said,
I was gonna say there's one thing I wanted to add to this. Unless you were you planning on moving on, or did you have something else to say about this?
oh no, go ahead.
All right. I want to know how high is Sean O'Malley? For this reason. This all ties in right here. In case you didn't notice.
Yeah.
Sean O'Malley's fucking high ass probably smoked fucking way too much reefer from the time he woke up until whatever time this fucking tweet went out of, hey, Peter, what are you doing in July? Want to beat my ass? Dude, you're stepping way above your pay grade, Sunshine. Way, way above your pay grade. I want to know what kind of drugs he was on, because I'm not going to lie, I would like to try them, because I don't think it was just pot. He was all sorts of fucked up and trying to bark up that tree. And Twitch Patreon immediately shut his ass down. Yeah. Punching way above your pay grade there. Just want to throw that out there because he's a fucking idiot.
Well, and I think the funniest part about that is that the reason that even got made a thing is because he tried to talk shit to Dominic Cruz, who immediately shut him the fuck down right away. And after Dominic Cruz shut him down, then he went to talk shit about Piotr Jan, who, as much as I hate that motherfucker, the cringe man himself jumped onto that conversation and made a Keith Peterson joke about Dominic Cruz in the middle of blasting Sean O'Malley for being a fucking idiot. So, much as I don't like that motherfucker, that was a well-timed jab that was thrown in there. I will give him that.
It was, but what is his couch surfing ass even bothering to get in here for? Unless you're coming back, shut the fuck up. And then when you come back, shut the fuck up.
Right, yeah, and then go back to square one and shut the fuck up all over again. But moving on from that fucking ridiculousness, Invicta has officially sold. Much like the UFC before them, Invicta has been sold to Access TV's parent company. They now will basically be broadcast exclusively on Access TV, so they have a television platform for Invicta now. And Shannon Knapp, the lady who runs Invicta FC, founder and runner, president, I guess would be the right word, founder and president of Invicta FC, is now poised to essentially be the lady version of Dana White. She is staying on the board, or staying on the company rather, and is being made a executive member of the board of the Access Communication Company, and will stay on and continue to run the show for Invicta, pretty much just like Dana White did when WME bought on. That is very cool. Most of the best ladies we have in the UFC and Bellator came from Invicta at one point. It is very much a ladies' platform to get to the top echelon of MMA, and there have been some fucking killers come through there. So for them to get a little more money, a little more exposure is only going to be better for everybody all the way up the food chain. Speaking of the food chain, though, we did get an interesting announcement this week that despite all of the shit talking about taking on Amanda Nunes and taking on Cyborg, we did get confirmation that it was all just smoke blown straight up the public's ass for the sake of publicity, because Clarissa Shields has officially had her MMA debut date announced, and it will be June 10th in the PFL against one Brittany Elkin, who is 3-8 as a professional and has not had a win since early 2015. And she's not losing by decisions. Brittany Elkin has made a career out of getting her ass handed to her. She's a lower Tanya Evinger, if that makes any kind of fucking sense. She's Yana Kunitskaya without the mediocre looks, for those of you who get that one. Brittany Elkin is quite literally just a human meat punching bag for Clarissa Shields to fucking waylay and knock out. I can't say that we had a lot of hope that she was realistically ever going to line up with Nunes or Cyborg or anyone really top talent. But I didn't think they were going to go full soup can when they brought her in, but they did. So there is that, I suppose.
Well, the only chance Elkin has is taking her down, because you take her down, I'm guessing she's going to be way out of her element. She's going to look something like fucking James Toney did when he fought fucking Randy Couture.
Right, yeah. Throw her ass to the fucking ground real quick and jump on top and don't let her out.
Yeah,
give her the old Kevin Holland treatment.
This would be the only fucking thing, unless she has legitimately been working on wrestling and jiu-jitsu, which for an athlete of that level, I would think she has been and probably been getting good at it, but to a point.
Well, considering that she literally just fought for her belt in boxing a month ago, I'm not thinking she's doing a whole lot of jiu-jitsu training right now. I have a feeling she's been working on her boxing a lot more than anything lately. And I think she's going to be in trouble if she gets wrestle fucked, which I kind of hope Brittany Elkin does. I really would love to see her just go in there and fucking run across the ring, grab her up in a fucking clench, trip her, throw her to the ground, and then fucking spend the whole fight on top of her. Just wet blanket that fucking broad, man. But we'll see when we get a little closer to that one. Last one I want to go over here real quick before we get into some actual fight talk. It's official. They have announced it. They have confirmed it. Contractor signed. They didn't fuck the old man. They give him his fucking shot. UFC 264, taking place on September 4th, will be headlined by one Jan Blachowicz versus Glover Teixeira for the 205 belt. They're giving the old man his fucking chance. And I can't think of anything that makes me happier right now.
You know, as much as I know which way that fight is going to go, I'm not going to lie. I'm still kind of pulling for the old man, even though I do like Jan Blachowicz.
I'm saying, I think we all kind of expect that fight to go via Polish power, but at the same time, I'm still pulling for the fucking old man. I don't know that he's going to take it, but you know what? He's earned his fucking shot to try.
Yeah,
he knows that this is his last run at it, but he has also put in the fucking work to get back there. So let him fucking try.
And
yeah, if anybody deserves it, it's Glover.
If it's a stand-up war, that's going to be a hell of a fight because he's got great fucking hands.
Yes, sir.
And his ground and pound is on a different level too, so Blachowicz better not get beneath him.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not an easy fight. It's not an easy fight by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm glad to see they didn't fuck the old man, because they very easily could have. The way they've done a lot of other higher profile fighters lately, they could have very easily told Glover, tough shit, man, stand in the fucking back or go to Bellator, deal with it. And it seemed for a minute like they were gonna, but they're gonna do him right. They gave him contract signs, data settled. The old man's getting his fucking shot at it, and I'm stoked. So that will bring us into the small mountain of fights going on this weekend. So I'm going to start with the one that we want to talk about the least, because there is the least to talk about it. Jake Paul versus Ben Askren tomorrow evening. There are only 2 fights on that card even worth discussing, and even then, only briefly. The first one being Frank Mir, who signed on to take on another celebrity soup can that he should have been able to easily take care of and look great doing in a boxing match. Bad news for Frank is that soup can tapped out, and he got himself a real boxer that stepped in on short notice, who is most likely going to beat the dog shit out of Frank Mir for 8 exhibition rounds here. I got nothing against Frank Mir, but I think when this fight got scrapped, he should have been like, well, deuces, motherfuckers, because fighting a pro versus a celebrity is one thing, but he is very much, instead of being the opposite of Askren on this card, just now becoming an encore, or an entree rather. He is becoming the appetizer to the Askren entree. We have got an MMA guy who's going to get the shit beat out of him by a boxer opening the card, quote unquote card, albeit 2 fights. I like Frank Mir, but I have a real hard time seeing him take this one.
Yeah, there's few fighters that are able to pull off a crossover against a professional boxer.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some that have done. I mean, well, look, let's just go this. We'll say this. Conor McGregor, when he fought Mayweather, nobody saw it going that way. Conor actually touched Mayweather a lot more than people thought he was going to. Which, to be fair, Mayweather still fucking was a god of not getting hit there.
Yeah, he played his game.
Mir was never known for great hands. He was known for his phenomenal jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
It's a whole different fucking world. If he'd be fighting some celebrity bum who thinks they're a fighter, sure, then he'd have a puncher's chance, but not now.
Yeah, that's just going to be bad, I think. But the worst part is that that's only the lead up that takes us into the quote unquote main event of that particular shit show, which is going to be, sadly, Jake Paul versus Ben Askren in a boxing match. As fucking stupid as that is to say out loud. 15-month on the couch, replaced hip, 40-something-year-old Ben Askren, Olympic wrestler, former Olympic wrestler, turned middle-aged dad, Ben Askren, stepping into a boxing ring against a 20-something-year-old YouTuber in Jake Paul. The problem is that this is a no-win situation ultimately. For everyone involved, it's a very financially beneficial opportunity. And Askren has been very public about that. He doesn't think this is a serious fight at all. This is a great opportunity for everyone to make money. But the problem is beyond the money. This is a no-win situation. Because if Ben Askren wins, he beat a 20-something-year-old YouTuber. If Ben Askren loses, a 20-something-year-old YouTuber just beat the quote-unquote MMA representative in boxing. Even though that's far from who the MMA world would send if we wanted a representative to go into the boxing world. That's who we got. He's not the hero we need, or he's not the hero we want. He's the hero we need right now, apparently. So the funky night is rising, hopefully. Honestly, this is one of those fights where I wouldn't be upset if we saw one of those like cartoon style double KO. But if I gun to my head, I got to pick, I still think Askren can do it. Because Jake Paul has never faced a real legitimate fighter. The closest he's ever come was Nate Robinson, who was a basketball player 15 years ago. Ben Askren still trains somewhat. Granted, he's not in the gym grinding. He's not in fight camp. He's also not doing anything. I have just the tiniest sliver of faith that Ben Askren's actual athletic ability and knowledge of actual striking will hold out here against a very obvious gung-ho fucking young moron.
I only have two things to say about the fight. One is I'm impressed that Freddie Roach thinks that Ben Askren is going to knock him out because he apparently hits hard. I'm going, what? I don't know if there was something that Freddie Roach taught him that nobody fucking knows.
That's what I wondered as well.
And there very well could be, because Freddie Roach is a fantastic striking coach.
Sorry.
So if he says he hits hard, I have to believe Freddie Roach on this. And I don't know where the fuck it would have came from, because it was not there in his MMA career. But hey, you know what? When you sign up for something like this, Ben Askren's a well-known enough name that he can get a guy like Freddie Roach to coach him. Makes sense.
Well, that, and you also got to think Freddie Roach ain't the kind of guy that's going to stick his reputation on the line for the likes of Ben fucking Askren just for shits and giggles. No. Freddie Roach is the kind of dude, if he tells you Ben Askren can do something, he's fucking seen it. That's why he's telling you that Ben Askren can do something.
So, I'm going to have to side on Ben Askren here, because some fucking YouTuber who thinks he's a professional boxer now and is still trying to call out the likes of Conor McGregor, who would absolutely decimate that motherfucker, needs to be stopped. The second thing I want to talk about this fight is not actually about the fight itself, but a post made by a one Mr. Darren Till, where he said, "We would love to see him double leg him and slam him onto his fucking head, even though if he does any MMA move at all, he forfeits his purse." He said, "We will set up a GoFundMe for you. You'll make more than your fucking purse." I'm not going to lie. If that happens and he slams Jake Paul on his head and knocks that motherfucker out that way, that's a win. Fuck it. I will donate to that GoFundMe myself, just because I would love to see it. And maybe a few ground and pound strikes while he's down there. Yeah. Or choke him out with a modified bulldog choke. Something fucking funny, because this is an absolute fucking joke of a fight.
Didn't Jake Paul just get hit with a stunner at WrestleMania? There's no way he's recovered from that.
No, probably not.
He did actually just get hit with a stunner at WrestleMania. So, yeah.
Well, no, and
Kevin Owens laid him out once again.
See,
yeah. There's no way he's recovered from a stunner. If we learned anything from Stone Cold Steve Austin, you don't recover from a stunner.
You're never the same. No, the good thing about the Darren Till bit is that Wonder Boy started that. Wonder Boy did an interview this week when they were asking him what he thought about the Jake Paul versus Ben Askren fight. And he said, honestly, I want to slap both the Paul brothers. I just want to slap them. He says, honestly, I would love nothing more than to see Ben Askren go out there, grab Jake Paul, scoop him up, and throw him down on the ground as soon as the match starts and go, that's real fighting, bitch, and then take the DQ. Darren Till just took it a step further and said, just double leg that motherfucker and slam him on the ground. Because I'll tell you what, I got $25 I'd throw in that fucking GoFundMe just between me and you guys. But it is what it is, as they say. So moving on from that absolute fucking dumpster fire to some actual entertaining, legitimate fights that are going to be taking place tomorrow evening before we get to the UFC fun on Saturday night. Bellator's 257 Nemkov versus Davis 2, the second round of the light heavyweight Grand Prix, which is what actually has all of the fun for the most part on this card. Kind of like you would expect on the third Bellator card in a row, the prelims suck. There's not really a whole lot of anybody that a whole lot of anybody is going to recognize on that opening prelim card. There's not a whole lot of talent that you just should not absolutely miss. Now, when it comes to the actual main card, really, there's only 3 fights you need to be concerned with. One, they're finally somehow getting Paul Daly and Sabah Hamasi in the fucking cage together again. I believe this fight got called off 3 fucking times, and they finally managed to get these two to shut the fuck up, stay away from the Backstreet Boys, and get in the goddamn cage. So weird that it's going to be 175-pound catch weight, because neither one of them can apparently keep it at 170 to make it a welterweight fight, but whatever. This is going to be interesting here. I have a feeling Paul Daly is going to do a lot of stalling, and Sabah Hamasi is going to try and do a lot of wrestling, and neither one of them are going to really look great, and we're going to end up with a decision. That being said, the 2 actually interesting fights on this card, the co and main event, the light heavyweight Grand Prix opening rounds. First one being Corey Anderson versus, all right, bear with me for this. Dovletsian Yagshir. I'm not doing that again. That's all you guys. You can have it. Do it. Corey Anderson's fighting a guy. To be fair, the gentleman that Corey Anderson is fighting actually has more pro fight experience than Corey Anderson does. The difference, though, is the level of experience. This is absolutely one of those situations where the strength of resume dictates a lot more. This gentleman may have more pro fights, but I guarantee you the level that Corey Anderson has been facing is miles above what he has. That being said, I think that basically makes this Corey's fight to lose, because we have seen when Corey gets sloppy and Corey gets cocky, Corey also gets knocked the fuck out. And we know that this gentleman absolutely has the power in his hands to be able to do that. So if Corey keeps his head on his shoulders and he doesn't fuck around, this is his fight. If he gets sloppy and he gets cocky, he gets knocked the fuck out, in my opinion.
Look, I can only go purely off of strength of schedule here. I think this is Corey Anderson all day. He finally made the right move for his career, not only money-wise, but also notoriety-wise. I think he's going to gain a lot more notoriety here than he was in the UFC, because the UFC was kind of stifling him, to be quite honest.
I agree.
I think we see him get a win and move on to the next fucking round here.
I absolutely agree with that. So from there, we go to our quote-unquote main event, even though really the co and the main are pretty much the same thing. They're both opening round. Shut up. We're getting a fucking motorcycle. Sorry about even though they are both in the same opening round of the light heavyweight Grand Prix. The difference being here is that, and I don't agree with the way the Bellator does this, but that's them, so be it. Because Vadim Nemkov is the current light heavyweight champion, rightfully fucking so, in this match against Phil Davis, not only is the spot in the Grand Prix on the line, but the belt is also on the line. So there is a potential here that Nemkov could not only lose his way out of the Grand Prix, but lose the belt in the process before the belt should have been given up for the Grand Prix winner anyway. It's one of the weird things that I think about the way the Bellator does their Grand Prix is that when you win, you actually win the quote unquote Grand Prix itself. So you get a Grand Prix belt, and the winner of the Grand Prix gets the belt for the division plus $1 million. Nice on the money, nice on the extra belt, but it's weird to have the belt in play as well as the prize at the end of the tournament, in my opinion. But that being said, this is very much a fight, kind of like we just talked about, in reverse almost. Phil Davis has literally twice the fight experience that Vadim Nemkov has. The difference here is that Phil Davis has spent a good portion of his career fighting soup cans, realistically, whereas Vadim Nemkov has basically leapfrogged his way up the fucking ladder in Bellator, and he's 12-2 for a fucking reason. He has not been fighting soup cans. He has been fighting exactly who he needed to climb that fucking ladder up and up and up till he got the belt put around his fucking waist. So this is one of those situations where Davis may have more ring time, but he doesn't have more high-level experience. Kind of like we just talked about a minute ago in the other fight. I like Phil Davis. He has proven me wrong several times before. I don't believe this is going to be one of them, though. I think Nemkov has that belt around his waist for a reason, and I don't think it goes anywhere in this fight, at least. We'll see what round 2 brings, but I think Mr. Nemkov goes on to round 2 with that belt still securely around his waist.
Yeah, that's not going to go any different than their first fight. Nemkov's going to win. Credit where credit's due. Phil Davis has not lost a fight since they fought last, which was in 2018, I think. So it's been 3 years since he fought him last. So, I mean, in all actuality, he very well could win the fight. However, Phil Davis's last fucking win was against an aging Lyoto Machida, which we also saw what happens to an aging Lyoto Machida right now. So he's really not the same fighter he ever was while he was in the UFC. So yes, you got a record name on your record now, but other than the name, it was a worthless win. So this is Nemkov all day. And Nemkov did literally beat the brakes off of Bader. So
Yes, he did. I giggled way too hard when that happened.
Oh, and one other thing. I don't mind that the belt's in play. If you're fighting and you're the champ, your belt should have to be on fucking paper. I don't give a fuck. If you're fighting, you're the champ, you chose to enter the Grand Prix, you should have to put your belt on the line for each time you fight. Period.
See, I look at it a little bit differently. I can understand that point, but the way I see it is if you're putting up a Grand Prix, if you're building an entire 8-man tournament just for the belt, then the belt should be the prize. You should be stripped when that tournament starts. Nobody's the champion. If you're going into a Grand Prix to determine the belt holder, then no one should have that belt going in. That shouldn't be an option. Everyone should go into that thing square, 8 men on a clean slate, and the winner of the whole fucking thing then has the belt.
Well, see, here's the key.
The belt's on the line every single fight.
Yeah, look, at this point, it still comes out the same. The eventual winner is going to be the champ, whether it's Nemkov or if it's Bader because he moved on already. But yeah, that gives Nemkov a little something more to fight for of, hey, I'm still the champ, and these all count as title defenses. That's all I'm saying. I think it's not a bad thing to pad your record with.
I can see it. I'm weird. I can admit that. I'm okay with that.
As long as you're honest.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I bear no preconceived notions about that shit. Oh, but that craziness out of the way, that will bring us to our marquee fights of this evening, the namesake for this episode, the reason for the season, as it were, UFC Vegas 24 / UFC on ESPN 173, I think. It / UFC Fight Night, now Whittaker versus Gastelum. So we say it every time, but I'm going to say it again because we say it every time. The card right before a pay-per-view and the card right after a pay-per-view generally blow goats out loud. Here we are. We have got a pay-per-view next weekend for 2 weekends from now. Yeah, 2 weeks from now, I believe. I think. No, it's next weekend. I'm sorry. Couldn't get the fucking calendar to work. Yeah, that's next weekend. So yeah, we've got a bunch of filler fights. Much like the Bellator card, the prelims over here on the UFC are not terribly better. The few fights worth really looking into on the UFC side of the house, the Mearshart fight could be potentially interesting. The quote unquote premier prelim fight, Tracy Cortez versus Justin Kitch, could be interesting. Not necessarily the most exciting fight either. The good news is there's a couple interesting ones on the main card that are very, very nice. The shitty part is that literally as of last night, we lost our main card opening fight because Ricardo Ramos got himself a ticket. Full positivity. He's out versus Algio. The UFC was working on trying to get a last-minute replacement for Abel Algio. They just could not do it. So it looks like as of right now, they are going to open the card rather, with Violent Bob Ross, Luis Pena versus Alexander Munoz. This fight has some interesting potential. Munoz is basically a kind of a stand and bang, a phone booth swinger, if you will. Whereas we already know Violent Bob Ross has got a lot in his tool bag. That motherfucker's got some tricks up his fucking sleeve. If you want to stand and bang, he can do that, but he is a little more well-rounded than your average stand and banger. The thing that I think makes this the worst is that the only other fight Alexander Munoz has had in the UFC, he debuted against Nasrat Haqparast, who beat him like a fucking rag doll. Not that MMA math is generally the best way to go about an equation, but in this situation, I don't think that Nasrat Haqparast and Luis Pena are on the same level. I think Haqparast is a little bit above him, honestly. So I think if Haqparast already got past Munoz as easily as he did, I think Luis Pena is going to put on a show for us this weekend. I think we're going to see a good one here. I think it's going to be fun to watch.
I think, yeah, I kind of concur. I think this kind of Luis Pena's. I think it's his fight to lose. I think we'll probably see. I think I see a submission in the second. I see because Luis he's been working pretty darn well on his ground game. I could see a nice choke out in the second. Just kind of a nice all around show from him. That's about all I got. I'm terribly distracted tonight.
All I can say is I hope he worked on his ground game, because after his fucking last venture out, getting fucking slept by Kama Worthy via submission, he better have fucking worked on it. Pena is, for me, has been one of those fighters who's looked like he's had flashes of greatness, although I do not like him. I'm going to say that outright. I do not like his personal choices. However, he is a good fighter. I will give him that. But he has had flashes of greatness, but those things have never come to fruition. It's always just fallen short on deaf ears. So, to be quite honest, I want to say Munoz coming in on his second fight and I lost to Hawkpraw, which is not a coincidence that you lose to Hawkpraw. That dude's a solid fighter as well. So thinking maybe he gets his first win in the UFC, because to be honest, I don't count on Pena anymore, because from what we've seen of him, either he's going to be really great or he's going to be shit. And after getting fucking subbed by Kama Worthy, that made me lose a lot of faith in Pena.
Yeah, I can see that. So this is a little weird one. Moving on from the Violent Bob Ross fight, the next fight has me a little bit. I'm just not sure how to feel about it. On one side of the octagon, we've got Jacob Malcoon, who, to his credit, has only had one fight in the UFC and was on the wrong side of the Philip Hawes debut fight in the 19-second spectacular fucking knockout. So we really haven't seen anything but him getting dropped in literally under 20 seconds in the UFC to really have much of an opinion to form about him. The thing that makes me uneasy about it is that standing across from him is Abdul Razak Al Hassan, who, since we have seen him last, has now been completely exonerated and cleared of all charges. And the two women who tried to claim he raped them have now been charged with filing false report. So this turns out to be a situation where he absolutely was 100% innocent. These girls made this shit up, and the courts are actually going after the women who made the false rape allegations, because it quite clearly almost cost him his entire livelihood. I had to double check and look into the fact that he had in fact been cleared and completely exonerated, because there's a lot of, clickbait headlines out there that just say that he had been charged, but it legitimately did take a little bit of digging. But I was able to verify through multiple different confirmed sources he has in fact been 100% cleared, exonerated, and the women who accused him are being charged with filing false reports, as I 100% believe they should be. But man, is that something that, because of how impactful it is, makes it hard to pump the brakes. And understandably so, there is now undeniable proof that this man was falsely accused and should absolutely be entitled to get his life back 100%. But because of the amount of social stigma that has been placed on this type of a situation, it sure the fuck does make it hard to turn around and give him the benefit of the doubt again. Because to his credit, when that man lets his fucking hands go, he has got power and he is quick. The problem is, for the last 2 years, you associated that power with him being a rapist, and that puts a bad mental image in your fucking head, and it makes it real hard to be on that guy's team again, even though we now know, confirmed, 100% undeniable, verified, he is an innocent man and was falsely accused by women who are now being charged for falsely accusing him. But because the way the world works, it's a real precarious situation to find ourselves in here, I think. I honestly don't really know how to come down on this one here. Knowing that he is innocent, I cannot in any fucking good conscience wish that man ill will, especially knowing that he was falsely accused and that's been confirmed. on the same token, I don't know that I can really give him the benefit of the doubt against Malcoon because we, like I said, literally don't know. We've only seen him in there for 19 seconds. So this is kind of a weird fucking fight situation to be put into, I think.
All right. I'm glad he's exonerated. I'm glad he didn't do the alleged thing. However, there's a caveat to this statement. If you allow yourself to get entangled with people like that, there's something wrong with you in the first place. Don't get me wrong. There are people out there who will try to use you for social clout, things like that, if you're in a position of power, which he obviously is because he's made it into the UFC. However, you let those people into your circle in some way, shape, or fashion that they were able to pull that shit off. Therefore, I'm glad he didn't do it because then I don't have to call him Voldemort or anything else like that.
Right.
But at the same time, the lack of respect is still there. That's not going anywhere because he's allowed that kind of persons into his circle. Look, we've all made personal mistakes. We've all had fucking friends or people we knew that weren't fucking great people, but didn't know it. I get it. But when you have two that did the exact same fucking thing, I think there's something shady going on there. But hey, what do I know? I'm just some random guy off the street. But that dude does have knockout power. But he also has apparently a glass jaw, too. I mean, he's been put out in under a minute. I mean, we saw him in his last fight. He slept really fucking quickly. Just took a good old canvas nap, and he was down for the count. So, either way this fight goes, somebody's getting knocked out. Either Al Hassan's going to sleep, or Malcoon's getting another fucking sleeping pill. Both of them coming off of L's. This is a good fight for both of them. Does it deserve to be on the main card? No. I think this should have been on the prelims. I don't believe this one should have been here. And it's not that there was any prelims on here that could back this card up, but actually, you know what? Yeah, put Mearshart on the main card. At least he's got more of a name draw than both of these cocksuckers put together. I will say that, period. To be quite honest, they could have been down there. I'll even go as far as you could have put Jessica Penne on the fucking main card over these two. And I don't like her either. But, yeah, fucking terrible fight on the main card. It wasn't even one I wanted to talk about. It was one I wanted to skip right over, to be quite honest.
Yeah, I can understand that. Had I not been able to confirm he was cleared, I probably would have skipped over it and wished him getting fucking unconscious as well.
Yeah, he never should have allowed himself to be in that situation. Yeah, if you're a professional, like it's it just drives me nuts that all these people they'll get themselves in that situation. It's like you're a paid professional. Like you should know. I talk shit about him. I won't back down from the shit I talked about him. Last time I saw him, he got knocked the fuck out. I'm betting if I had to take a wild guess, that's probably what's happening again. I think he's got a glass jaw. He may have some power, so if he catches yeah, all these fights. Yeah, if he catches Malcoon, I suppose there's a chance. I think Malcoon knocks him the fuck out again, though. He just went down so easy. So easy.
Yeah, he really did.
Al Hassan, I'm glad you got exonerated, man. I'm glad things are going your way, but I'm still not rooting for you.
I think that's kind of where I'm at. Like I'm absolutely glad that the man got exonerated because as I said, I verified that shit myself. I didn't really believe no fucking clickbait headlines. I verified that shit. He's been exonerated, and they flipped it around on the fucking horrible fucking human beings that are the females that fucking tried to pull that on him and ruin his fucking life. But I agree. It takes a certain type of crowd to get that nefarious and shit like that. And if you're a pro fighter, you should fucking know better. Right? Not that I am rooting for him by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't wish malice upon him anymore, knowing that what we were told was completely fucking false. So I don't wish you ill, but I'm not going to root for you. I'm hoping that we got to see just a bad side of Malcoon. Maybe we'll get an interesting show this weekend. Never know. But moving on from that fucking weirdness, that brings us into a whole different kind of weirdness. We talked about it a little bit earlier. Sometimes being that last minute fight guy is a good thing. It absolutely can be 100% career booster, put you right in the fucking spotlight when you need it to be, and get you just that fucking set of eyeballs that you needed to when they should have been there, and just start you up that fucking trail. And then there's those moments where you get offered a fight last minute and you think, fuck it, last minute, let's take it, let's do it, it'll be fun. And you should have stopped for 10 seconds and actually thought about it, and then wait, no, that's a bad matchup for me, short notice or not. That's not a good fight. Least of all short notice. I'm going to pass on that. This is one of those second kind of fights. This is one of those that, even though it's short notice and it could be fun and it it's exciting, if you stop for 10 seconds and you think, it's not a good matchup to have been made. But we have seen that is not going to stop him. It didn't stop him before, and it's not going to stop him now. So now we've got the short notice approach of Andre Arlovski stepping back in to take on the short notice fight against Chase Sherman. This wasn't a good matchup if Arlovski had a full camp. Chase Sherman is too young, and he's too strong, and he's too fucking fast for Arlovski. Arlovski is quite literally a shell of his former self at this point. He's just got enough muscle memory to kick it into autopilot and coast himself through 3 rounds without getting completely decimated and hope to take a decision home. And that ain't gonna fucking cut it against Chase Sherman, because he's young enough, he's strong enough, he's hungry enough, he's got good enough wrestling, you can't just throw him around. He's got good enough hands, you're not going to be able to just walk up on him. This is one of those situations where, unless Andre Arlovski catches Chase Sherman being sloppy and leaving himself open and just fucking waylays him with a Hail Mary, this is going to be a bad night for the Pitbull. I fucking like Andre Arlovski. I've been a fan of his for literally over a decade. But he is beyond that expiration date on the back of the milk carton here. This motherfucker kept walking past 18, and he's just in the middle of the woods trucking for no fucking reason at this point. The game is long past over. His clubs are still sitting at the fucking tee. He's just walking in the fucking woods at this point, aimlessly. And when you stumble into a guy like Chase Sherman in the forest, it's never going to end well. Have you seen him? This isn't going to be a good time. I can hear the banjos from here. It's going to be a bad night for Arlovski. I think Andre gets hurt. I think he's really going to get hurt. Chase might be the youngest, hungriest, strongest guy they have thrown him up against. And if his time in BKFC showed us anything, Chase Sherman is a fucking monster when it comes to the hands. And Arlovski has a very, very glass chin. And that's a bad combination for Andre. I think he gets slept before we see the end of the second round, if he makes it to the second round.
Yeah. Arlovski, why? Why you got to take this fight, man? Yeah, he's definitely getting slept, unfortunately. Another one. And yeah, we keep saying it over and over again. Sometimes guys just don't know when to quit. I think that's where Arlovski's at. He's getting trotted out for name recognition only at this point. And you wish, like, he could just go train people and be a coach somewhere and make plenty of money. But he still thinks he's got something left in the tank, something left to prove, I suppose. So out he comes. Chase Sherman. I'm giving it to Chase Sherman in the second. Yeah.
I fall in line with the both of you, and I'm actually right on line with Fresh on this because I think Andrei Arlovski has just enough autopilot to get him through the first round, and then he gets slept. Because, I mean, look at Arlovski's last fight. He looked like absolute dog shit. But, yeah, I think we'll see it. And then, of course, Sherman gets a easy fucking name notch on his belt at this point. And we can only pray to God that Arlovski gets walking papers or fucking retires. Because I'm not going to go into him needing to retire spiel because I've done it about 40 fucking times on him now, and I'm over it.
Honestly, at this point, I'd rather see him put his gloves down than get cut. I'd rather see him come to that fucking realization and do it of his own volition than get fucking released. But we also have seen that Andrei's too fucking stubborn to do that. So we'll see. That being said, though, that will bring us to our co-main event of the evening here. Jeremy Lil Heathen Stevens versus Drakkar Klose.
Did you want me to take it, or did you want TJ to take it?
Either one.
For our points.
You guys can flip coin for it.
So, I guess I'll go. Little Heathen Stevens. He's on a bit of a skid, if I recall correctly. Let me double check my. Yeah, he's not on a little bit of a skid. He's on a lot of bit of a skid. That's 5 fights. 5 fights. And then as exciting of a fighter as he is, he's also up against Drakkar Klose, the human decision machine. Hasn't bothered to finish anybody since 2015. Go ahead and check that if you want. But he also he lost his last fight, but other than that, he is just decision on everybody. If there's one thing we've learned about Little Heathen Stevens, if you can make it past whatever he's going to do right at the start, you can usually lure him into your game plan and keep coaxing him into what you want to do. And obviously that's one of Drakkar Klose's strengths is luring people in and keeping them going for a decision. So I'm picking Drakkar Klose by decision. I think he's certainly tough enough to get past Little Heathen Stevens' first little jaunt of whatever he's going to throw out there, and then just keep popping him, circle pop, until push him into the cage, grapple for a minute, circle out, keep going for that decision. I don't think this will be the most exciting fight. I believe you called this kind of a shit card. This is kind of a shit fight, in my opinion. I hope that Little Heathen Stevens punches him and knocks him out. I don't see it happening. I see Drakkar Klose by decision.
The only thing I can say about this fight is this is a really, really fucking ugly fight. Period. My first question is, how, and this weight class, well, I guess they're fighting a weight class up from fucking featherweight, so I think they're fighting a lightweight for this one, if I'm not mistaken. But one, how is Little Heathen still ranked at number 10 in the featherweight? As he hasn't won a fight since 2018. Doesn't make any sense there. Jakar Close is indeed a decision machine. If he doesn't finish somebody soon, they need to just give him walking papers. And I get it. He's winning enough to be able to easily stay on the roster. And it's not that he's a boring fighter. Well, he can be because he does like to decision things out. But I don't get how somebody who's just decisioned their way to an 11-2 fucking record hasn't managed to finish any of those fights. I mean, you could have figured outside of his last fight with Beneil Dariush in last year, he could have a fucking immaculately clean record right now of finishing people, but he just can't seem to tie it all in and finish the job. I mean, look at some of the people he's fucking fought that should have been easy to fucking finish. Lando Venata, fucking, he could have fucking KO'd fucking Takisi back in fucking 2017. No, this dude has been the epitome of, I'm going to do just enough to get by. On the other side of this, Little Heathen is not somebody you can do just enough to get by with. As much as I hate to say it, on a guy who's on a fucking skid streak from hell and is still ranked in the top 10 in featherweight somehow, I don't get. But at some point, something's got to give there, and either one of two things is going to happen. Either Jakar Close is going to actually finish Stevens, which I think is highly unlikely, being as he's a decision machine. But what I think is more likely is because of the way Jakar Close fights and just kind of wants to do just enough to get by, I think Jeremy Stevens finally gets a fucking win here since 2018. Do I see it being pretty? No, it's going to be ugly and slow-paced. I don't even think he's going to finish Jakar Close. I really don't. Although Lil Heathen does have some fucking power in his fist, so he could connect. Chances of that happening are slim to none. The worst part of this for me is, if you guys remember the Mexico City card, Jeremy Stevens and Yair fucking Rodriguez and the fucking bottle throwing incident of shit fans. Jeremy Stevens really got fucked since that time. So he went back in, fought Yair again. Yair won. Okay, whatever. But there was a noticeable change in him when that happened. From what Jeremy Stevens used to be to what he is now. He's a shell of what he was prior to those two fights. So I don't know if it's a mental problem or if he's just truly on that fucking back nine of his career, which that very well could be too, because, I mean, he's been around for quite some fucking time. But I think Jeremy Stevens gets this one done purely because Jakar Close only ever does just enough to get by, and I don't think he can do that with Jeremy Stevens. And I think this is the longest losing streak we've ever seen on Jeremy Stevens in his entire career. So I think he'll turn around, give Jakar Close his third L. But it's going to be ugly, and I think goes to decision.
No, I'm just kidding. Calm down. this fight, this is realistically, this, in my opinion, however this fight shakes loose, the loser could get walking papers, and it could be understandable. Drakkar Klose has not even scratched the potential he should have had when he came into the UFC. I completely agree with TJ. He's had more than a couple of opportunities where he should have been able to come out and just fucking shine and wipe the floor with the guys they put him up against, and he barely decisioned him out. On the other side of that, one of his biggest strengths is body work. He's slick and can dip off and crack to the body from either side, or throw a nice fucking body kick in the middle of mixing it up. Drakkar Klose has landed several very nicely timed, very effective body shots. Jeremy Stephens, if nothing else, has one gaping fucking hole in his defense that you could drive a semi-trailer through, and that's his liver. He's been punched in the liver and dropped. He's been kicked in the liver and dropped. He's been elbowed to the liver and doubled over in the fucking ring. He can't take a fucking body shot. If you landed on his right side, you can almost guarantee to fold him like a fucking taco. Jeremy Stephens absolutely has fucking one-shot power for that division. But 5 losses in a row and still being on the fucking roster is a miracle at this point. I don't see Dana giving him the opportunity to take on another guy if he goes 0-6. And I don't think Drakkar Klose has enough name value at this point to warrant being kept on decisions and then a pair of back-to-back losses if Stephens can connect with him. I think this is going to come down to, can Stephens do more than just an opening round's worth of attack? Because if he can, this could be a very interesting fight. If he can't, I think Drakkar is going to point him to death and just bounce shots off that fucking body until he falls, or they get to the judge's decision and he's landed more shots, which I think he will. I don't think it's going to be a very exciting fight. I think this is really a matchup of liver versus body shots. And I think even if it takes 3 rounds, I think Drakkar still wins that one. So I think we all get a point for that. So that
Everybody gets point.
That's right. We're Oprahing with the points on this one here. You get a point. You get a point. Everybody gets a point except for RJ because he's not here, motherfucker.
Yeah.
So that'll bring us to our main event of the evening, the literal marquee banner for this weekend's upcoming show, the promised taken away and then given back by the MMA gods fight that set a whole shitstorm of the middleweight division into fucking play. Robert Whittaker versus Kelvin Gastelum. It's not on Fight Island. It's not when we were originally promised it to be, but at least this time, there's no fake belt to get confused about. This is a fight that we got promised 2 years ago now? Was it? Yeah. Yeah, should have been 2 years ago, and it wasn't. So, we got it this weekend.
I'll take the heater on this one. Long time coming. I think at the wrong time for both of these fighters. I'll say that. Robert Whittaker, let me start here by saying this. I don't think this does anything for Robert Whittaker's stock now that Kelvin Gastelum just finally got a win after a 3-fight skid. And Robert Whittaker wants another shot at that title. He needs to beat somebody a little bit higher ranked. However, I mean, he did just come off the win off Cannonier, which, credit where credit's due, he did manage Cannonier very well. And Cannonier had a lot of fucking hype coming into that fight. But I think he needs one better win than Kelvin Gastelum right now. And I say Kelvin Gastelum right now because I'm hoping what happened with Kelvin after his last fight is he got that confidence back of, yes, I can do this. Because if that's the case, we're in for one hell of a treat, I think. But if not, it's going to be a one-sided affair. Now, Kelvin, like I said, he was on a 3-fight fucking skid up until his last fight, which, to be quite honest, he didn't perform as well as he could have against fucking Ian Heinisch. I really think he could have done a lot fucking better. But a win's a win. W is a W. No matter how much of a drag out it was or not. The plus side of this, both of these boys have been in 5-round wars before. So, being as the main event, we get 5 rounds out of these sons of bitches. You know Bobby Knuckles is coming this way. And you know he hasn't changed his fucking style, so you know exactly what's going to happen. Because he has not changed his style in how many fucking years? The problem with that is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result is the definition of insanity. Bobby Knuckles is obviously insane. Kelvin, on the other hand, he's not doing the same thing over and over again because he was losing and losing and losing and winning. And then, I mean, don't get me wrong, he had a great tear in there where if Izzy would not have came into the UFC, there's a very good chance that we could be seeing him sitting here as champion right now. And credit where credit is due. He did give Izzy one hell of a run for his money when it came to that. The only other person that came close is, somebody we spoke about earlier tonight, but I'm not going to say his name because fuck that guy. But I'm hoping what happens here, based on what we've seen out of Kelvin Gastelum in recent years, so in the last 2 years, since the Izzy fight, he's been kind of a fucking soup sandwich. Been absolute shit. He squeaked out a win on his last fucking fight. We know he can bang. We know he can wrestle. But it seems that, though, in those last 4 fights, he can't put any of that together. Let me rephrase that, last 3 fights, because he did manage to put it together with Izzy when he fought Izzy. He just wasn't as good as Izzy. Robert Whittaker, he, as much as I hate to say this, he's a mainstay of this division, period. And he will be for a very long time. I don't see a lot changing with him. The weird thing is, even though he hasn't changed much of his fucking, the way he fights, his game plan, or his style at all to match what's coming in, it's still working. It's still fucking working. How would he have beaten Cannonier if that fucking shit doesn't still work? Let me pop in, get you with a really big counter strike type shit. It still works for him. Catchers, I don't know how well he's going to be able to do that when you're looking at a fucking Kelvin Gastelum, who once he gets on the gas, he doesn't stop. For as big of a guy as he is, ice cream cone shaped motherfucker, he's got a pretty solid gas tank for a middleweight that's built like that. Although he's much shorter than most of the division, he also makes up for it in power and willpower. As much as I hate to say this, I'm probably going to go against conventional wisdom here. I don't think Robert Whittaker wins this fight. And this is off of a long pull here. The tear that Kelvin Gastelum was on up until the Izzy fight, I think that Izzy fight broke him. When he didn't win that, because it was such a close fight, I think that broke him a little bit mentally. Now getting that W back under his belt, I think we're going to see that tear again. And my hope is that we get to that point back to where we get to see another Kelvin and Izzy fight that's just a war like the previous one. That's all hoping, but I'm thinking what has happened now that he's got the W, albeit it was kind of a mediocre W at best. I think that's that little fucking extra push he needed. What's really funny for this fight, though, how in the last fucking 6 years have these two never fucking fought each other? Like, you look at their records in the UFC. At some point, these two motherfuckers had to have crossed paths, rubbed shoulders in the fucking hallway, something. But it's never come to fruition till now when, to be quite honest, this could have been a main event fucking fight for the last 5.5 years. Because both of these guys were up towards the top of the middleweight division or at the top of the middleweight division consecutively for the last 5 years. Both of them. They've been somewhere in that top 10, 15 in the last fucking 5 years. They could have been a main event card at any point. They could have been a main event on back probably when it was still on Spike. But I think that's what blows my mind the most here. Don't get me wrong, Robert Whittaker could very well win this fight, but it would come with a counterpunch. I think we're going to see an upset here. I'm going against Vegas. I'm going against bookies, all of it. Purely because I think that W was just enough to light that fucking fire under Kelvin's ass and get him back to what he used to be. Robert Whittaker doesn't change, so it's not hard to fucking find the 15 fights he has in the UFC on tape and go watch them all and go, oh, look, he's doing the same thing. Oh, look, he's doing the same thing. Oh, look, let me shove this cake in my mouth and talk some, because it's fucking Groundhog's Day with him. So I think Kelvin and his team are smart enough to pick up on all of those things and adjust their game plan accordingly. So I'm going to go ahead and say Kelvin gets this one. I think it's going to be a long, drawn-out fight, and I think it's going to go to decision.
I mean, this comes down to where Kevin Gastelum's head is at. That's essentially where this fight will come down to. Was his beating Ian Heinisch enough to get him back on track, or is he still in his own head about what happened with Izzy? Bobby Knuckles has been doing the same thing, like you said, since he came in the UFC. He hasn't changed a bit, but he's been doing it successfully. People have seen game plan, and he's still been able to work his game because he is that fucking good. Personally, I think this is Bobby Knuckles' fight to lose. I think Ian is probably still, or Ian. I think Kevin is still in his head a little bit. Still in his own head a little bit about what happened with Izzy. I don't know that beating Ian Heinisch was enough to get him back on track. Although we have seen it. We have seen guys go on a skid and then they pull that one W, and then they're able to pull themselves out of it. But I mean, even after the last time we heard him talking, like he still didn't sound like himself. So I'm hoping Kevin Gastelum is able to recover and get back around and be the guy that we hope that he is. But I see Bobby Knuckles working a successful game on this one. I don't see it going past the third.
Very interesting. Very interesting indeed. So full over the top here. I think you both hit on valid points here. TJ pointed out kind of exactly where I was going to go, but went a different direction with it here. The common denominator between both of these gentlemen is Israel Adesanya. They both have fought and lost to Israel Adesanya. The difference, for me at least, is that Robert Whittaker got knocked the fuck out and got his belt taken right off of his waist by Israel Adesanya. And he took a little bit of time off, and he came right back, and he got right back to what he did in the fight against Izzy. And he stopped Jared Cannonier in his fucking tracks. And everyone, including Izzy, thought that Cannonier was the next dude that was going to be a thing. He was going to be Izzy's next competition. And Bobby Knuckles said, hold my beer, mate. Sent his ass to the back of the fucking line. The difference here is that Kelvin Gastelum went arguably one of the greatest 5-round wars we've ever seen at middleweight against Israel Adesanya, and got physically, mentally, and emotionally broken in the process. And we saw it. We saw it fucking happen. We saw the aftermath. We saw the confirmation that he was not who he was before that fight, period. No way, shape, or form. Izzy broke that man to the foundation. The difference is that Kelvin couldn't get immediately back on that fucking pony. We saw Bobby Knuckles get right back to it, because losses happen in the real world. In the fight game, losses will happen. At some point, you will lose. Even those who go out with an O on their record lost as an amateur. You will inevitably lose if fighting is your profession at some point. How you handle it makes the big difference. And Bobby Knuckles took that loss where he got knocked the fuck out and got the belt taken directly off his goddamn waist. And he took it in stride. He took a little time off, and he came back, and he went right back to exactly what we know Bobby Knuckles does. And it went right back to working. Kelvin Gastelum got his ass whipped and lost himself. Literally lost his identity, lost his style, lost his sense of time, had to sit on the couch and cry into a fucking tub of Ben & Jerry's for a while. And even then had to have his girlfriend motivate him to get off the fucking couch and get back to training, because he couldn't drag himself back to the gym to let the coaches that got him into that shape get him back to that shape. His literal girlfriend had to actually push him out the door. We have it on video. We've seen it. And even then, after dragging his goddamn feet and literally being forced to get back to the thing that he said he wanted to do, he couldn't get that fucking fire back. And I don't believe for a second that Ian Heinisch decision is enough to put him back to the KG that we saw originally scheduled to fight Bobby Knuckles. I don't think we see a third round. I think middle of the second, Kelvin gets sloppy, and that fucking reaching left hook from Bobby Knuckles is going to put him flat on his fucking ass. I think KG gets dropped before we see the Bell 3 opener.
My vote goes to Meter.
Meter, I think you got yourself a point there.
Well, I was going to vote for Fresh, but if I got to take the point, I got to take the point.
It's all right. I'll take my point when Kelvin Gastelum wins this weekend.
Well, and that is the thing, is that point or no point, there's no guarantee. That's how this fight's going to shake loose. And that's the fun part about talking MMA, is that we can talk all we want, we can guess all we want, but there's no guarantee. The only way to find out how it actually ends up coming down is to tune in this weekend and find out. But that's all the fights that we've got to break down for you wonderful folks on this particular episode. So before we get out of here, I want to take just a moment and let these fine gentlemen tell you how you can continue your conversation with them if you so desire once this show is over. So Mr. Fresho 3, now that it is warming up and we are that much closer to a full-on Chalathon, how can folks after the show is over sign up for the Hug Marathon if they need to get in touch with you?
You can find me on youtube.com/fresho3. The most important thing we have running right now, though, is going to be a 24-hour live stream. That is going to be over on the DIY or Die channel. We've got a whole bunch of things in the works for you as far as prizes that you could possibly waffle yourself into. we got a lot of fun things in store during that 24-hour stream, including some Dungeons and Dragons. So if you guys are interested in coming in over, hanging out, see a little role play, we're going to be doing some mental health. We've got the Aussies are brewing some stuff up. We've got the folks over in the UK brewing some stuff up. It's going to be a great show. Got the possibility of getting the Coil Wars guys get involved. So sounds like there could be a whole lot going on during that 24-hour live stream. So yeah, if you're interested, go over and find DIY or Die, all one word. Subscribe over there. Keep your eyes on Instagram. That's where we've been dropping a lot of the notifications. But it's all for the vaping trucker, Mike, who recently came down with, recently was diagnosed with cancer. And we're trying to help him and make sure that he's able to be comfortable while he's going through these rough times. So he's one of the best guys we have in the DIY community. He's an amazing guy. You can go check out his Mixers Helping Mixers. You can go check out the Vapin Trucker, no G, Vapin Trucker. You can go check out his YouTube channel, check him out, see the things that he does. He's a great guy, and he does not deserve to be going through this. So help us support him while he does go through this.
Absolutely. And we will absolutely get more info on the 24-hour stream as we get a little closer to that, because Mike is a hell of a guy and he absolutely deserves all the help we can give him. So as we get a little closer, we get a little more details, I promise you guys we will keep the details coming here as we get closer to that. So thank you again for your time, Mr. Fresh03. Always appreciate it, sir. Now, at this point, I don't know how somebody could get to there, but if they've been watching the show this long and don't know where to get themselves some fried cheese curds or why Kenosha really is the place they want to go sightseeing, how can they get a hold of you after the show to get a little info, TJ?
Wednesday nights, right here on the YouTubes, 9:30 Central Time. That little name right there. And also, catch me on the Instagrams. I don't post on there, but I do answer messages. If I post something on there, it's because it's very important to me. Otherwise, I haven't posted on there in probably 2 years, at least. But you can definitely find me on there because I do peruse through there and chat with people. But I'll definitely give you directions. I might even hook you up with something extra special here you might not be expecting. A little root beer milk. A little insider tip there. So if you want to know how to get your hands on that, you let me know.
There you go.
I kind of want some of that.
Right. Thank you very much for your time, sir. Always appreciate it as well. But we are going to call that all for this particular episode this evening. Remember, folks, we are on all social media platforms. So if you enjoy what we do, you can catch us basically everywhere. Facebook, Instagram. If you are watching us live Thursday nights on YouTube, you can also catch the show without these distracting faces in the all audio format on anchor.fm/I'm No Joe, and it'll pick you up through your podcast consumption platform of choice. If you are, however, savvy enough to be hearing us through your podcast consumption platform of choice and are curious what these goofy sounding motherfuckers actually look like, I promise we're as goofy looking as we are sounding. Come check us out live Thursday nights on YouTube, youtube.com/I'm No Joe. We are here. If you want to support what we get up to around here, patreon.com/I'm No Joe. Gives you a little name recognition at the end of the show, gives you access to behind the scenes shit, unaired footage, and even unairable footage that only the Patreons can see. But the most important thing here is if you enjoy what we do, hit that thumbs up, make sure you're subscribed, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss an episode. We do this every week, folks, pretty much. But we're going to call it all for this particular episode. So thank you, everyone, whether you were catching us live here, I see you guys in the chat, or you're catching us on a replay. We appreciate you just the same. So remember, don't let ignorance stop you. You can root for anything, unless you really think that Venmo payments are secret.
right thing. In fact, it was a little bit frightening. How do I say goodbye to what we had? The good times.